Also, according to Shams, those two teams were the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. And of course, Harden is now a member of the Brooklyn Nets. Look, he averaged 37 and 11 in the first 3 games of the season. Then he dropped to almost 20 points per game in the last 4 games. So that's what Shams pointing to as far as that passive-aggressive behavior that we saw for James Harden forcing his way out. So what I mean by that, Candace, as a former MVP yourself, we've seen James put up MVP numbers this season. He still has that in him. But will that change in Brooklyn? Because now he has to share it with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. How do they mesh?
Well, I think if you would have said this maybe 8-9 years ago about how they would mesh, I would say this is impossible. You have 3 ball-dominant people that are used to having the ball in their hands and scoring. Well, similar to the way that Chris Paul as well as James Harden meshed in Houston that first year where they took the Golden State Warriors down to the wire, I see them having to sacrifice a little bit. And will James Harden have to get off the ball? Yes. Will they have to play different roles? Yes. But I think they all are at different points in their career where they're willing to sacrifice to play meaningful basketball. James Harden has made it known that he wants to play for a championship. And I do believe that this is the best spot for him to be able to do so.
Well, Candace mentioned those Warriors, Brendan, and KD was able to make it work, winning those 2 finals MVPs with them and just go into the finals every year that he was a member of that team. Do you think that experience will play in? Because obviously, Kyrie and James Harden with the dribble, like Chuck said, it's a different situation than it was with Steph and Clay.
Well, I think KD is grown up and he's matured a lot. I think going to Golden State, he was in an incredible culture and he understood what it takes to win. He saw the sacrifice that Steph Curry made as the leader of that team in Golden State. He saw the ball movement, how the ball moved around. He became a better defensive player. We never talked about KD's defense at OKC, but we did when he got to Golden State. So I think he'll bring that championship experience, that championship DNA with him. He's already in Brooklyn, and I think that he's going to share that with somebody like James Harden. And hopefully this works out because these are 3 very talented ball players, but everybody has to buy in. Candace talked about the different stages that they're in their career. Well, James has been used to playing a certain way. And you used the Chris Paul example, and the Chris Paul thing worked the first year, but it didn't the second year. And then Chris Paul was unceremoniously shipped to OKC. Some people think James might have something to do with that. And so it's one of those situations where it takes time. Everybody has to get on the same page, and everybody has to be willing to sacrifice. It's about sacrifice, hearing each other out. James, Kyrie, and KD, they're all going to have to go to dinner sometimes and just try to figure out how we're going to do this, because most teams that get put together, most big threes get put together in the offseason. So you get a whole offseason, you get training camp, you get the preseason. These guys are going to have to go up right before our eyes. I'm not judging this team at all for the next 20 games. I want to see them grow and to continue to develop and find a way to get their continuity up.
Well, I think the biggest wild card in this has to be Kyrie. So I want to hear from both of you on this. But Brendan, since that's one of your former teammates, I want to hear from you first. Does Kyrie buy into this? Does he take the step back? Because it seems like he would have to be the guy, right?
Yeah, I don't know if Kyrie's going to buy into it or not. Right now, there's still questions of why he's not with the team. So I have to hear from Kyrie first as to what he feels about the trade, when he's coming back to the team, why he missed those games but was at other functions that weren't sanctioned. So I don't know about Kyrie right now. He's a little bit of a wild card, but I think that mentally he's going to have to be ready to take a step back, because he's going to be he's the 3rd best player out of this trio, and he's going to be the 3rd guy in any big three is the most important, because that guy has to sacrifice the most, like Kevin Love and Chris Bosh did.